Hey Clear Lake peeps, Ross England with Clear Lake Guide Service here with your Clear Lake report for this week. September 15th, 2022. Sitting here, I just got done fishing at out of 5th Street, and there's a little stuff going on there, so I thought, well, I'll just stop here and do the video here at the county park. So that's what you see out behind me is the county park, which hey, reality is there's nothing blocking it, so at least it's a good place for kayakers to come in. So okay, here we go with lake conditions. Lake level is minus 2.1 feet Rumsey, so it's coming down about 0.15 feet per week. So not a huge change, but we're definitely under the -2 mark. Water conditions, you know, I got around some down into the Rattlesnake Arm, a little bit into the Redbud Arm, a little bit running around this afternoon up in Lakeport, or more Nease and Lucerne. And the water's not that bad. I didn't really see a whole lot of algae blooms anywhere. There's obviously color to the water, but it's not a bad color. Now, I know that if you went down into Redbud itself, or even got down around Clear Lake Oaks Keys, where the wind tends to push all the surface stuff, it's probably a mess down there. But at least the part that, you know, I ran around in this week is actually in pretty good shape. The cooler water temperatures, or the cooler air temperatures, especially the mornings, you know, like this morning it was 50 degrees starting out. So those air temps kind of help out as far as, well, it's probably not even the air temps, it's just the shorter nights. You know, we got less and less daylight each day. So I think that's helping with the algae blooms. Grass is disappearing slowly. There's some of it out there still in areas where it's, you know, it's pretty green, but then there's other areas where it's just disappearing fast, and that's typical for this time of year. So water clarity, the best that I could see was about 1 foot to 1.5 feet. The color was good. I mean, you know, it wasn't nasty looking, but like I said, maybe 1.5 feet was about the clearest place that I saw. So that's pretty much conditions. Launch ramp, you still only have 2 launch ramps that are usable. 5th Street in Lakeport and Clear Lake Oaks. I haven't talked to anybody who's launched out of the Oaks in the last couple of weeks. I know most of it is still going off the beach, and it's, again, if you haven't listened to this report before, that's kind of a 2-person operation. You got 1 person in the boat, 1 person in the truck, because there's no dock available there. There was a couple I met on Monday who launched what I'm guessing was maybe a 22 to 25 foot Robalo. Pleasure to meet you two. And they didn't have any problem at 5th Street. So, and I think that probably, you know, we're good for another 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks before we have to start worrying about it. There's still like 2.5 feet of water out in front of the launch ramp. So at least going out, I'm not trimming my motor down. I'm leaving the motor trimmed out partially, and then going out. It's a couple hundred yards. It's out past 5-mile-an-hour buoys before it drops off and gets deep enough to where I feel comfortable that I can trim down and get up on plane to get going. So that kind of takes care of the conditions. Activities, there's absolutely nothing going on as far as I'm aware of this coming weekend. It looks like it's clear. There's something going on next weekend, but we'll talk about that next week. I believe it is a kayak event with Wild West. Don't hold me to it, and I'll correct it next week. So talk a little bit more about fishing this week. Fishing's tough. I mean, there's nothing that's changing the fact that for most of us, you know, last week I put out there, I said, hey, if you had a day that you caught more than 10 fish, post it on here and brag about it a little bit. And all I really got back were people complaining about, you know, being here for the weekend and only catching 1 fish or 2 fish, or not very many anyway. Don't feel alone. You're not in that boat. I mean, I've fished twice this week, and the first day, let's see, Debbie caught a bass, a catfish, and a bluegill. And I caught 2 bass. So we had 3 bass on Monday. Today I was out and my guy caught 3 bass. Now he caught a decent one today. He caught a 6-pounder, and that's one thing, you know, while we're not catching numbers, is usually the fish that we're catching are good solid fish. They're 2 3/4, 3 pounds, right in that range or plus. So we had a 4 and we had a 6 this week. So I'm happy with that kind of size. It's just the numbers are awful. And I'm running all over the place. I can't tell you if there's a deep bite, a shallow bite, an early bite, a late bite. I have not been able to catch any topwater fish. I have not spent any time looking for frogfish in the afternoon, you know, midday afternoon. I kind of planned on doing that a little bit today. And honestly, the wind just, you know, we went from being 105, 106, 107 last week to today's high is supposed to be 79. So pretty big change, which meant a lot of wind below the Narrows for today. So most of our fish, though, that we are catching, I can't catch anything up on this end of the lake. It's down from the Narrows down below. And it's just kind of one here, one there. The majority, you know, I mean, it's hard to say the majority, and it's hard to say, you know, a lot of fish, because when you only catch 6 fish, that isn't much to report. So our fish came on drop shotting and underspins. You know, what a surprise. If I'm desperate to catch a fish, those are the 2 things I'm going to go to, and we seem to be able to get bit. Monday we saw a lot more surface activity up shallow. Today you couldn't see any surface activity, but you know, you can't hardly miss a catfish when they're jumping, and even in, you know, 1-footers. And I just didn't see a whole lot of that today. I saw it in a couple of places, but the numbers were way down. So my fishing report is still just going to say, man, I'm busting my head trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, and I haven't found it yet. Talked to a couple of guys who are fishing at nights, and you know, they're not really coming up with any big numbers. There may be somebody who's doing it, but I don't know them and they're not talking to me. So it's just been an exceptionally tough summer here. I'm really looking forward to the water temperature changing. You know, I mean, today it started out at 75 and it ended up at 75. That's good news, because it's been starting at 75 and getting up to 80. So I think with the cool temperatures that we've got this week, hopefully a little drop in water temperature is going to help the bite and get these fish a little bit more active. So we'll see how that goes. I'm guessing, just like everybody else is who's running around out here scratching their head. So we'll talk to you next week.